episode 5, part
Back
2.
to Adam and the order God intended before his daughter was involved. There's a responsibility on Adam to do what God told him to do no matter what. And that responsibility is to be first. The first to pray, the first to sacrifice, the first to establish order, the first to establish the language of the house, the first to issue a command, the first to surrender, the first to be broken, the first to be healed, and the first to give of self. Adam was first to be put to sleep, the first to undergo surgery, the first to witness a duplication of his bones, of his flesh and bones, right on down to the marrow, blood type, and DNA. After God, Adam has to be first. If your wife is consistently or more times than not is beating you in surrendering to God's process, if she's always the first to be vulnerable, if she has paid more of a cost than you have to be the boss, if she's always the first to be healed, if she's consistently first in hearing God's instruction and is the first to obey more than you do, then she has taken your place of first, your place of sonship with the Father, leaving her place of daughterhood empty. And it's causing disorder and disarray in the marriage and family. Here's the thing: women are more likely to surrender quick. They're to be vulnerable quick, to sacrifice instantly, to seek healing quicker than men, to hear God and obey quicker than men because of our wiring. So, how much more must your sonship, your relationship with God the Father be your priority? God established a direct connection with Adam, which means he established a direct connection with all of his sons. And if he has to speak to your wife, whether you married her or you made up in your mind that you're going to marry her, if he has to speak to her always or more often than not just to get to you, there's a problem the father is going to have with his son. No different than a daughter who is always having to ask dad for help when she has a man, when she has a husband. Dad is going to help his daughter, but there will be a discussion of why isn't it done already? Why are you out here taking care of things like a man when you have one? What is he doing while you're doing what he's supposed to be doing? Why isn't he coming to me to ask me? No dad wants to see their daughter in a man's position of first. Even if a father, even if a dad trains his daughter or daughters to never be last, he has done so because he doesn't believe in a man's ability to not make her first, not because he wants her to be first. The order of Adam being first was established pre-Eve, pre-serpent, and pre-fall. So you know it was perfect and intentional. The workload of creating according to the supernatural capacity of man is what God addressed, but never did he ever revoke Adam and his sons to come throughout all mankind from being first. If you found a wife, but life is not better, sweeter, more joyful, and more prosperous, then it's because she's the one and not the two. Or better yet, let me say, could it be? You answer the question. Could it be that life is not better, sweeter, more joyful, and more prosperous because she's the one and not the two? Because she's leading and you're following or doing too much following? Now, that's not to say that the father has nothing to say or do with Eve directly. We women have our own relationship with the father, but sonship and daughterhood are two different things. Like I said, I'll be coming down wife lane shortly. Hold tight. All Eve had to do was obey God's instruction through her husband. If Adam did not tell Eve to refrain from eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, then the entire encounter would have primarily been on Adam, and then secondly on Eve. For because we're held accountable for the light we receive. I know we like to think we're only held accountable to the light we receive, but Luke 12 and 47 through 48 says, the servant that knew his master's will and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beat with many stripes. But he that knew not and yet did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with fewer stripes. For unto whom much is given, of him much shall be required, or of him shall be much required. I'm reading the Tyndale version. Even if Adam didn't tell Eve, it is still her responsibility to be connected to the Father as a daughter, especially since before the fall, they were in a time when the only mystery of God that was hidden from them, according to the word as we know it, was the knowledge of good and evil. After the fall, the mysteries had to be revealed to man throughout generations. And Jesus tells us why in Matthew 13 and 10 through 11, which reads, and the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables? Verse 11, he answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. And the only reason it was given to the disciples of Jesus is because he was with them. Had he not been there, they would have needed a revelation. They would have needed a revealing of the mysteries of God as well. Then Jesus says in Matthew 13 and 19, when anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understand it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. So what does that mean? That means that just because you don't understand the why behind God's command does not excuse you from being obedient. Eve heard what God said through her husband, and she did what she wanted to do anyway. Adam knew what God said first. He understood it first, but he chose his wife's instructions over God's instructions. You can read it in Genesis 3 and 17 when God says to him, because you did as your wife said, not because you debated me, not because you misunderstood me, but because Adam did as his wife said. He disobeyed the one who is first in his life. Now, this doesn't mean that the wife can't say anything to Adam or anything to the husband. I know from this moment there are a lot of traditions and stipulations placed on a woman to be seen and not heard because you're the one, you have it within you to cause the man to be disobedient to God, when in actuality it is on the man first to make sure he is obedient to God. Since it came to him first, it is up to him to maintain it always, right? The idea that the woman must be seen and not heard is taken out of context. It doesn't mean that she can't say anything. It doesn't mean that we can't bring revelation. It doesn't mean that we can't help the man of God understand the plan of God. It means that we're supposed to help the man meet God, hence the title, Help Meet. We're supposed to help him meet God in every area of his life. If he gets turned around, turn him back to God. If he starts forgetting what God said, remind him. If he's absent minded about what God said to do, help him do it. What does all of this mean for the woman? It means that the woman is alleviated from the pressure of having to be the one to make leadership decisions first. Leadership is provided to her so she can fulfill her destiny, and she submits to her husband's leadership because her husband's leadership provides her the soft life for real, for real. She is to be free to be feminine. She is to be free to be vulnerable. She is to be free to nurture, free to worship the Lord. She is to be safe emotionally, psychologically, physically, financially, and spiritually. She is to be free to birth the dreams of her husband in safety instead of struggle, to birth his dreams in peace instead of pieces. Now, in turn, there would be nothing Adam would say no to, hence the manifestation of his dreams. All Eve had to do was stay in her lane. All she had to do was make sure that she didn't ask him to become her and her to become him. You understand what I'm saying? Adam would be alleviated from holding the dream within so that he has the vigor to build, and she would also birth everything that was needed to take care of what he builds. In turn, the woman is birthing nations and maintaining the dream of her husband while honor is being brought to her. She was to be taken care of, not left with responsibilities as if she did this by herself or as if she was first. If she wants to bake bread and become Sarah Lee, she can. There should be room made for her to do that. If she wants a she shed to become a female Picasso, she could. If there's room made for her to do that. If she want to make body oils and be the next Johnson and Johnson, she could do that too. If there's room made for her to do that. But she would do it, whatever her creativity would be. She would do that while her husband and everyone she gave birth to managed what Adam built or was building. I know I'm bouncing back and forth between Adam and Eve, but I'm talking to you, sir. I'm talking to you, ma'am. Every woman's job, husband or not, is to create. Adam is mandated to be first, and Eve is mandated to create. This is the function of husband and wife that God intended then and still intends today. By the time those kids, Adam and Eve, whatever the dream has manifested to be, by the time it's mature enough to operate without the constant supervision of Adam, Adam would have been able to let the dream facilitate itself, to let the kids manage themselves while he goes to admire his wife. That means there's more time for intimacy, walks, talks, new discoveries, freedom, romance, hot spring skinny dipping, because they would have still been naked had the fall not happened. Adam gets to enjoy his wife in his youthfulness. He gets to enjoy his wife in her youthfulness, no matter his age, if it was God's intention that they aged at all pre-fall. These days, though, okay, the common experience for women, for wives, for those who have been selected in some man's mind, that's my wife, okay? These days, the common experience for women is to build and create. Where is the man that makes room for her to manage his dreams and bring hers to life at ease so they live a life of ease? I'll tell you where. He's caught in the middle of sweating from the brow and ease. He's caught in the middle of sweating from the brow and faith. He's caught in the middle of the Old Testament and the New Testament. He's caught in the middle of works and grace. He looks at the wife and marriage like it's hard, when really it's hard because she's hard. She has stronger muscles than you do, bearing up under a spiritual weight that you haven't touched. You won't even spot her on the bench, okay? You want her to be soft, but you don't want to be vulnerable with God or her. You want her to be feminine, but you don't want to be first. You want her to submit, but you don't want to surrender to the Father. And so she sits in your seat. She sits on your throne, which was created for you by the Father, because you vacated it. And now she wants the crown. She's in the position of sonship because she's not free to be in daughterhood. So if she got to do what a man does, then she may as well be the king of the castle. That crown doesn't even fit her head, but she wants it because in her mind, what does she need a man for? If she has to act like one while she has one, if she has to act like one when she didn't have these babies, start this business, or buy this house by herself, then she may as well get paid for it with the crown of the king. In comes an identity crisis and a power struggle between husband and wife, and it will stay that way because the only way she's coming off that throne is if the man comes out of sweating from the brow and moves into the ease of being first. Because things get easy, husband, man, sir. Things get easy when you're in sonship, when you take the responsibility to be first with God as your main priority, your first and foremost priority. Instructions come easier when you pray first, sir. Strategies come easier when you read the Word of God first, sir. Provision comes quicker when you fast first, sir. And when God blesses the man out of sonship, it's much better than what the woman got without the man. What Eve received when Adam was in right standing with God was every good thing she could and couldn't imagine. What she received when Adam wasn't in right standing with God was every horror she never wanted to imagine, see, know, endure, nothing to do with it. God knows just how much He gave your wife in your absence. And I know you're like, but lady, you don't even know that I'm here. But I'm not even talking about you being vacant. I'm talking about being in the house but absent. I'm talking about being in the church but absent. I'm talking about being in prayer, but absent hearted and absent minded and absent from the position of leading. She will get off your throne when you make up your mind that it's time to sit in it. It's time to go to God first. It's time that you lead by example first. It's time to put your sonship above your relationship with her and your desire to appease her and please her so you can have a piece of her and some peace of mind. She will relinquish the throne and she will crown you king when she can trust you to be first in line for what God has in mind for you and then her. Still, and now I'm on wife lane. Still, ladies, it's important that you never take his seat. You are mean and surly and burly and sick and aging because you weren't made to carry the weight of a man. You're supposed to carry the weight of a dream until it comes to pass. You're supposed to birth help for the vision. You're supposed to create because that's who you are. And if you only produce when he calls, when he comes home, when he's faithful, when you can find out where he's at, when you get a different man, when he says good morning, when he gives the check, when he pays the bill, cleans your car, puts gas in it, says yes to the new sofa set, pays for the vacation, then you're training him to think that all he has to offer is sweat from the brow. Provoke him into leadership by letting him lead. So what? You know what to do. Your silence first says to him that you trust he is capable of figuring it out with God. I want to share something with you, something I learned, I want to say in the first 2 to 3 years of marriage. Most men have a tendency to not ask for directions when they get lost. And that was Anthony. And we were living in Essex County and we were already going through some heavy poverty. We were being faithful to our relationship with the Lord, but going to church and we already didn't have the gas. We didn't have the gas to be getting lost. We just had the gas to get to church and get back, okay? We're living in Essex County. I don't know which block is hot, which block is cold. This is new to both of us, but every time he got lost, I would go off. I mean, I would just start yelling, never mind, I want to go home, yada, yada, yada. And then eventually he would find it. But I noticed that he would become very irritated, very frustrated with my response. So one night we're getting ready to leave, and I hear the Lord give me instructions to hold my peace. He lets me know ahead of time, Anthony's gonna get lost tonight. I know y'all been to church for a few times, but he's gonna get lost, and I want you to hold your peace. I said, okay. He says, and then I'm gonna give you the words to speak in that moment. And so lo and behold, we're driving, and what happens? Exactly what the Lord said. He got lost. And I noticed him looking at me, but I'm not saying a word. Because now I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the Holy Spirit to give me the words. I'm not only not saying a word, but I'm fixing my face because that was another instruction. Okay. So finally he says, babe, I don't know where we are. And the Holy Spirit had me respond to him with such loving kindness. And I said to him, oh, don't worry, you'll figure it out. If you need to, you can go back the way you came, but you have a great sense of direction. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Within 5 minutes, okay, we were in the right direction. Now, we were lost for 20. But within 5 minutes of me being obedient to God, he had found his way and we were on our way. I want to give you another testimony. Um, we had some disagreements in the beginning of our marriage. We had some heavy disagreements. And in this particular case, I knew I was right and I knew that he was wrong. And he was because the Lord told me so. Ha. And so I'm in the kitchen, I'm washing dishes, and I hear the Lord say, your husband is going to come in and he's going to bring up the discussion that was brought up over the phone. And I don't want you to say a word. And I said, not nothing, Jesus. How you don't want me to say anything and I'm the one that's in the right? Lo and behold, what happens? This man of mine comes to the kitchen door. I'm cleaning up after making dinner. And he starts talking to me some kind of way. And because I was a young girl who was seen and not heard, um, I was at an age where, oh, everybody gonna hear what I have to say. And however it come out, however it slices and dices, well, that's on you. Because I will no longer be silent. That's where I was. And so, guys, as he's talking to me, tears are running down my face because I am fuming. I am. Be sure to tune in next week for part 3.